Remember, it takes me 6 takes to get it right.
I'm rolling.
You're rolling.
We're not going
Okay.
to walk in for the first 3. We're going to give you a chance.
Okay.
Really get warmed up. How's the audio?
Oh, that'll sound real good and it'll make you go.
The Rick Douglas Show. Da, 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 da,
I'm not doing that. You better relax. Lots of rest.
I can't.
rolling.
This is a very solemn occasion. Sure. 2, 1.
Fail.
Okay, you want to go for it? Quick, it's up to you. Rolling.
This time out, we're going to meet a duo for whom the word groove means a way of life rather than just a statement about it. Groove as in record because they're musicians whose music makes sense and, they hope, a few dollars. Meet Tucson's own Street Pajama.
Okay, let's try one more.
The camera rolling?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed.
Okay.
Ready? Take 2. Did you guys ever want to be anything but musicians?
Yeah, I did. I used to want to write plays. That's what I majored in at Penn State. I thought that would be real neat. I used to want to be a comedian until I realized that you had to be really funny to do that. That didn't work out.
Being dull didn't work.
It did for a while, but the death of the party was fun for a while. And you taught for a while.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a teacher. I either wanted to be a teacher or a singer. So I majored in education in college, and I taught. And I always thought that would be neat.
Well, you used to tell me those stories about wanting a pointer for Christmas, or
Yeah. I used to do that. I feel so silly telling you things I've already told you
Don't.
before.
Because,
That would happen.
because
Okay, I'll
nobody
just
else
pretend.
has heard the answers.
I'll just pretend. You pretend that you're
How did you hook up together? What were your early years like?
Well, I lived across the street from Mike, and we were just good friends. And Mike started playing the guitar as a little kid, and I knew he played the guitar and that sort of thing, but it really wasn't a musical thing. It was just we were good friends.
I played guitar, but it wasn't a musical thing. It was a real slow start for me. I was thinking of something though. When I first started playing guitar, before I met Merle, they needed a bass player for the orchestra, and so they talked me into playing bass. I was the only one, and they put me up on a little soapbox. And the first concert that our school ever did, we went through it, and I thought, I was doing okay. I wasn't really very good, but I thought I was hanging in there. And the orchestra stopped, and I still had another page of music left. I was still playing, and I stopped, and I realized I had been playing the wrong song.
Your bass days.
So when she says that play
Mike
guitar,
had
but it wasn't musical, there's some truth.
Well, Mike had an interesting experience, though, because when he was in elementary school, they specifically asked him not to sing in the music festival. He was the master of ceremonies. And they said, if you do sing, just mouth the words. Don't let anything come out. So
Those were early comedy beginnings, 5th grade MC of the, making jokes about underpants. I really knew my crowd.
What about later, though?
well,
What about the years between 6th grade and appearing here in Tucson?
Right. Well, I guess what happened is I was at Penn State, and I was singing as a single, and I was writing these little funny little tunes and these songs of intense protest, just like everyone else was. And they were pretty. I heard a tape of them recently. They're just terrible. And Merle transferred to Penn State, so we ran into each other again, and we got together, and she sang some of the songs I'd written, and they were still terrible, but they sounded a lot better than they did when I sang
well,
them.
I protested about the protest tunes.
Right. She came down, and the style began to change, and with her jazz singing, the tunes became a little more substantive. I
So
guess
when
is
did
the
Street
word.
Pajama come about? And how did you come up with a name like Street Pajama?
Well, street pajama is a hobo term that when a hobo sleeps on a park bench and he adds an extra overcoat, those are street pajamas. And most musicians have to spend some time on the road, and that has some meaning right there. But when we first started out, we were in a couple other groups that we didn't have that name. We had a couple pretty...
Well, we were experimenting with the name the Tucson,
and
which was...
that was rejected along with Guitarred and Feathered. And fortunately, we decided to go with
Street Pajama sounded awful good after we had experimented with those, so we stuck with it. But that was after I was writing news at a station in Washington, D.C.
And of course, it logically followed that you start writing music. Yeah.
Right.
You'll be doing it by the end of this interview. You'll be writing music. You'll find it a
see
lot
how it all
easier.
works.
Right.
How do you write music? How do you write your music? Do you share the responsibility?
We share the responsibility. Yeah.
Do you look on it as a responsibility?
No, it's fun.
Yeah.
It is fun. It's fun at first, and then we rewrite the tunes until
Quite a
we
bit.
like them, and that around the 32nd, 34th rewrite.
You start having something. It's real
Sometimes
strange.
it gets a little tense.
You start writing a tune, and you're so excited, you think you really have something.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day you go back, and all the excitement that you had the day before is totally eliminated because you listen to this tune, and it needs work. You realize all the work that's ahead of you. And so when we write a tune, it either starts off with an idea in terms of a lyrical idea, something to write the tune about, or an idea in terms of the type of music we want to write.
Yeah, like for instance, Merle will say, "I want a tune I can show off with," Away we go,
Well, what about the tune where the verse runs something like, "An albino from Salina beat me up and took all my wine"? I mean, is your music autobiographical?
Well, the sequitur to that, it follows then to say, and I said, "What the heck," and stole some cigarettes from someone who was blind. And, I think that's just life on the road, Like, if you can picture...
Kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Oh. Gee, it's great to be so heavy.
But what road were you on when you wrote that one?
Route 4. No, picture
The road to ruin, I think.
Picture yourself in Sterling, Colorado at 2 in the morning. You just got done playing. There's a rather irritable bartender who you've worked with for the last 2 weeks who you don't like, who doesn't like you. You're carrying your equipment out. Nobody's helping you. He's yelling at you because the door is opening and there's cold air coming in, so that every time you carry your equipment out, the door locks. You have to knock. He opens it again, says it's cold. You get all your equipment out. You scream across the Midwest from Colorado to Kankakee, Illinois, and this would happen. And you get there, once again you're met by an irritable and surly club owner who's not particularly glad to see you, but will remind you that they just had their best week ever. The last band was really hot.
Really.
And after 2 days of playing there, you realize the only reason I had a good week is because it was a blizzard and there were a bunch of stranded travelers there. It was the only time anyone's ever been in that bar. And that's kind of what that line's all about, just running from one end of the country to the other, getting screwed, which is
Life on the road.
they call that being a musician sometimes.
Well, you've run to Tucson. What kind of reaction are you getting here in Tucson?
Real nice.
Yeah.
People here are real interested in hearing original material. They're very fair about it. That's one thing that we've liked
that
a
makes it
lot
really
about
nice.
here, because when we would play in some of the places we played on the road, people didn't have the time of day for original material. If they hadn't heard it 1,000 times, I mean, you would play a tune and take a break and they'd play the same tune on the jukebox, That really makes it difficult.
And then the applause meter would go on, right?
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah,
they had
exactly.
a tape of it in their pickup truck for the ride home,
Uh-huh.
too,
Uh-huh.
But here, or in the Midwest, you'd have to say that we would write tunes and we would do our own tunes, which on the album have kind of a jazz flavoring, but we do them real countrified and say it was a Kitty Wells tune, you know, which didn't fool anybody, but, you know, we tried to sneak them in.
Sneak one in.
You don't have to do that here. It's
Wow.
a lot nicer.
Well, how does the lifestyle here affect your music? Say in a song like I Get Peculiar. I mean, how did that start off as a essentially jazz tune, or was it?
No.
Well, that was a song. Now, that was a song that took a long time to write. That song was originally something that that's the title track from the album, and that was something that I started fooling around with the idea because I thought it would be fun for me to sing a real rock and roll screaming type song about me being a real hot shot with women, you know. Then I realized that wasn't even going to work as a fantasy. So we began to revamp the approach, and we were in the Midwest, and we kind of did it like real countrified, like yes, even out of tune like this.
And I'm going to sing it out of tune.
Okay.
Don't hold my hand if you can't understand the implications of a lonely woman. I've been all by myself now for a long time. I got a twitch in my eye, a twist in my mind. I get peculiar.
Just standard country lyrics, you know. I get peculiar when I'm lonesome. A lot of country artists have exploited that theme.
So we decided that the country approach really wasn't.
And we
What we
like
want.
when we write a tune, you ask can we write a tune, like we tried that tune every possible way. We tried it as a reggae, we tried it as a waltz, and we began screwing around with some different chords, like some moving chords. And it got a lot more fun then. And we did it that, and that's the way it ended up being on the album, you know. So it changed quite a bit.
Okay, the album is out, and obviously it's important for you to make it as popular as you can.
Yeah.
Is it as important to be a business type, in your case, as it is musicians?
Definitely.
Unfortunately.
Yes. Which makes it very hard because speaking for myself and many other musicians, it is difficult because you end up spending a lot of your time doing the business part of it more than the musical part, and that's the whole reason you went into music. But if you don't do the business, you're not going to be heard. You're not going to have the musical freedom that you're striving for.
Plus, part of the business part is changing the way you write. Like, we're in the middle of writing a tune right now that has a real Latin flavor to it. But in the back of your mind, you know that Latin
Isn't
flavored
selling.
tunes just don't cut it.
Ricky Ricardo isn't.
Ricky
No.
Ricardo's just not doing that well at all, you know.
Wait a minute, he just released a disco album. Of course, I haven't heard about it.
What's it called? Lucy, don't bother me at the club. But so we're changing that. We're changing the trying to think of things that are more likely to get airplay. Like there's a couple tunes on the album that we did that with. Changed production around instead of doing them real as jazzy as we might want. We thought, could we change a little bit, make it a little more commercial without ruining the tune, and then maybe get it more of a chance to have it played. It's kind of strange,
Okay, let's shift gears here for a minute.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about you guys 10 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
All right. For the sake of conversation, let's say that you're a monumental success. You don't have to worry about commerciality. You don't have to worry whether your album is going to sell or not. You've got your millions in a bank in Switzerland. What kind of a project is it that you have in the back of your minds that you'd like to get at now that you don't have to worry whether it's going to sell or not? Is there some kind of dream that you want to fulfill sometime, along the road?
You have a dream, Merle?
I have a dream. Well, I think something that would be real nice is working with some other musicians that you've always respected. I mean, even now it would be so neat to meet some musicians that I've always really liked, and I've loved their music, and how neat it would be to actually compose some music together. And work together. And
Like do an album with Ferlin Husky, you know.
Ferlin
someone
Husky and
you've always looked up to.
and Wink Martindale. If I could just find those two
What
guys.
an album. That
What
would
an
be.
album we would have.
Do some old World War I songs, you know, revamp them. No, I think it would be really fun. Get with some people like Paul Simon or Joni Mitchell, you know, that you could write tunes with them, you know, have them improve some of your tunes, have you improve some of their tunes that they're working on. I think that'd be really neat. I'd like to do that. See, you're in such a catbird seat when you're finally that successful. Shucks, if Paul Simon came out with an album with James Taylor where they were just, you know, doing hand farts together, you know, I mean, it would kill, you know, it would go platinum in no time. You know?
Well, I don't know. It wouldn't play in Tucson. Does either one of you have veto power over the other?
Veto power?
Mm-hmm.
We both have veto
both
power
have it.
over each
Yeah.
other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she probably expresses hers more. She has
No.
she has a tendency to rule out some of my wilder lyrically. You know, I'll come up with some real bizarro things that seem like they're just hilarious to me. You know, and I'll play them for her.
Unfortunately, the rest of the world is not ready for them yet.
So,
Sometimes he'll write some lyric ideas that I like, and I think they're funny,
Wow.
but I just don't think they're going to hold up very many times. You hear it once, but that's the thing about writing lyrics. You've got to be able to hear it a lot and still enjoy it. And I'm sure you've heard songs that the first time it kind of hit you as kind of a cute idea, but the second time it got a little less cute.
yeah.
Finally, the
Yeah,
third
worse
time,
then.
Yeah. What happens is usually I write the basis of the tune and bring it to Merle. Just the throwback from the Penn State days of writing the protest songs almost. And then she sings it, and then at that point we begin really working on it together. And she sings it and changes it around, and then I'll change it around. And then she'll tell me my lyrics are poor, and then we'll fight, and then we'll just scrap the tune altogether and start with another one. And pretty soon we have some tunes written that way.
You know, looking over the music that you've written in this album, it appears to me that the theme that pervades all your music is the fact that you're not satisfied with the way things are. In fact, you titled one of your songs "Outright Downright Change."
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair assessment or not?
Is
That kind of off the wall
For that
dinosaur
tune-
psychology, or
For that tune, it's right on target, I think.
Mhm.
But was there another place
Well,
that made you
I
think
can't
that?
I could see you
specific,
saying
but-
hanging on would be like that, but
you talk about?
Okay.
Don't hold my hand if you can't understand.